I am a philanthropist first and foremost now, and I'm really lucky to say that as a 35-year-old now. Um, and I'm lucky because I was in tech, and I started in tech when I was in high school. I started coding when I was about, I don't know, 11 years old, 12 years old. That gave me a huge leg up over everyone, over everyone. I came to Tulane here. I didn't have to go to college, but I came to Tulane to read. I was just interested in that I could go to a library and read the classics. So I read the classics at Tulane. And while everybody was worrying about jobs, I was pretty okay because I knew how to code. I knew that I could literally walk into a organization like I did with Tulane, and I could say, I know how to make this better. And I could do that. And that was a power that I had because I knew how to code, because I had this amazing teacher in middle school who started to get me coding, and then in high school who continued that. And still to this day, that I can stand before you and say that I've made it, and I'm only in my 30s. Um, that's pretty phenomenal. That is what I hope every student in New Orleans can talk about. I hope every student in New Orleans could say, I worked through my 20s really, really, really hard. And then I made a basic income through that. And then the rest of my life, my only concern was my family, my own well-being, and my society. That's what I hope for every student in New Orleans. And I really do sincerely believe that AI can get us there. And so tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about AI in general. We're focusing on this project that I'm working on with my philanthropic organization, 1111 Philosophers. And the reason we're called 1111 Philosophers is that we meet every Sunday at 1111 at a Petit Clouet Cafe. If you're interested, just show up. Somebody will be there. Usually I'm there. Sometimes I'm not. I have a new baby, so I haven't been there as often as I would like. But every Sunday at 11:11, we meet and we discuss philosophy. It started from crazy things of like determinism and non-determinism. And it's over the years, it's really focused on how we can be the best citizens we can be through both philanthropic endeavors and just giving our time, and how can we optimize to be the best humans we can be. Every year we've focused on a single project. This year we're focusing on this project called AI for Every Student, and I'll talk little bit about tonight. And this talk that I'm going to give tonight is it's not just about this project. It's going to introduce you to the key concepts of AI. I really wanted to develop a talk for you all. This is the first time I'm ever giving it, and I'll probably give it a lot after this. I wanted to develop a talk that anyone who, no matter their expertise and understanding of AI from any background, could leave the talk having serious questions about AI. And I'm gonna it's gonna be a briefer talk because I'm really curious to hear what you're thinking about. So I have these funny looking things I should let you know throughout the slide deck. A lot of folks they're called QR codes. They became famous during the pandemic, and they're really annoying because you go to a restaurant and they don't give you a menu. They tell you to scan this. I have these throughout this exactly. I have them throughout my slide deck only because if you really want to check the facts that I'm talking about, you can just raise up your phone. You can take a picture of that, or you can raise up your phone and click on it. I'm a really data-oriented person. I'm a rationalist. Everyone here is really smart. I heard folks talking that you're modeling some debates around the Oxford Union, which I love. I would consider myself a non-hedonistic utilitarian, and so I'm very much focused on data and making sure things rationally work. So feel free to check any of the issues that I have. This QR code will link to what I'm showing you tonight and some additional links. And so this whole project started not too long ago at NOLA Book Fest 2024, right across the street. And it started with Walter Isaacson interviewing Saul Khan on the big stage. And I'm paraphrasing here what they said. If you wanted to actually look it up, you can do that QR code. But basically, Walter Isaacson asked Saul Khan point blank, can we buy AI for every student in New Orleans? And Saul Khan said, yes, I think so. And Immediately afterwards, I went up to Sal Khan. I was like, "Give me your email. We'll make this happen. Like, this is very important." And it came, and I wasn't just a crazy guy going up to Sal Khan. I have about a decade of experience working on AI related projects. So I knew that if I could capture Walter Isaacson asking this question, and Sal Khan giving an affirmative to it, that I can hold their feet to that fire. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's also what we've been focusing around. So this was said at NOLA Book Fest. I brought it to the 1111 philosophers. A gentleman here who you'll meet, Sam Birdsong, that we call Birdsong, really took the initiative and ran with it and decided that this was something that he was going to own. Another guy, Justin, here tonight, is a CTO at an amazing organization that does over $1 billion in payment processing. He decided he was going to be part of it, and several others decided they were going to be part of it. So we went from NOLA Book Fest to today, and today I have some cool things to report to you. That's how fast AI moves. That's how fast this technology moves. That I have a slide that a project idea started just a few months ago, and today I can report things to an audience of strangers. This is what we're dealing with, people. We're dealing with rapid innovation. And if we don't move this fast, it's going to leave us behind. The people that I'm most scared about this leaving behind are students in New Orleans. There are 43,544 students in New Orleans schools. New Orleans schools are really weird. We don't really have a district. The district has a few different little schools that they run, but we don't really have a district. We have a discombobulated kind of marketplace, I would say, of schools, different private schools, different state-funded schools like NOCA. But we do have 43,544 souls that we as a New Orleans society are responsible for, and I do not shirk that responsibility. If you look at the population of these students, 84% of these students are economically disadvantaged. 84% of these students are economically disadvantaged. That creates a whole bunch of issues right on its own. So you have students that need to be lifted out of poverty, students that are already coming to school disadvantaged, 84%. Why aren't we addressing this? I think that AI can, and I'll talk a little bit about it. Another crisis that we're seeing in New Orleans public schools, shouldn't say New Orleans public schools because they're a mix of whatever, New Orleans schools in general, are a retention crisis. So 36.6 teachers left between 2022 and 2023. That is terrible. And if anybody ever had a great teacher that was there, I was reading an article by Michael Lewis about Coach Phipps at Newman. And that is an example of a teacher that is part of the institution. It is really bringing together a student body and teaching in alternative ways that he knows from experience will work. If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, you know that experience will teach you. And if 36% of teachers are leaving after, year over year, that's a crisis. That's not something to shirk. And I'm a big tweeter or Xer. And I posted this recently, and somebody who was in the public school district said that, oh, that's actually pretty good. And I was like, what? And so they explained to me that, like, because New Orleans relies on Teach for America and like young teachers, that like this is actually better than it was. That's terrible. I will not accept this as a reality that we live in. Here's where we get into the scary stuff. So K through 8 students, this is looking most recent data I could find. K through 8 students have a math mastery of about 34%, 30% science mastery, 44% English mastery, 27% social studies mastery. If any student had these scores, they would be failed, they would be flunked out. How do we allow a group of our New Orleans schools to have these scores? And I shouldn't say this is a failure of teachers. I shouldn't say this is a failure of administrators. I shouldn't even say this is a failure of students or their families. There is systemic issues that are much larger, much greater. There are also issues with the testing. I was a big supporter of a school in town called the Living School. And Living School was one of the most inspirational places I've ever been to, because, and I am sorry about this, I get choked up about it every time I talk about it. And I deal with large global health issues, and the Living School was one school that I was like, I have to spend most of my time here. Like this is the thing, because They deal with two-thirds of their students are special needs students. A lot of their students are undocumented. They have a literacy rate coming into living school of 13%. And living school was shut down by the New Orleans school district because students were failing tests. Now, when you're dealing with the most disadvantaged students in the city, why are you shutting this down? I will tell you another statistic that Living School had that I've said this is why I have to drop everything and focus on these folks. They had a 95% attendance rate. You were dealing with the most disadvantaged school that has a 90 fucking 5%, excuse me, 95% attendance rate. That, and you're going to shut it down. And, you know, these students are going to be eaten up by other schools that see them more as a statistic than as human beings, like Living School has. So that's 200 and I think 20 something souls that are now lost to our system. And it's shut down. You know, there's a possibility that we can take it private soon. It takes about $2 million to do that. It's not an easy feat, even with vouchers, but you know, we have to really address these. So now, like, the question is, what can AI do for education? This is a question for you as much as a question for me, even though I've done this for a decade plus. So, you know, I'm very curious of your ideas. The things that I think this is really good at is tailoring lesson plans for student needs. So if you've ever used ChatGPT, or if you've ever gone to Amazon and it makes a homepage of all the products you like, things like that, like imagine if it wasn't up to the teacher to have a single piece of white paper that says this is what every student should do. Imagine if every student opened their laptop or even had a piece of paper printed out for them and saying, this is what you should do because of all this data that we have on you. So tailor lesson plans to student needs. That's a key use of AI. Predict the likelihood of dropping out. This is one of the big projects that I was working on a while ago, but looking at student data to say this student really needs a lot more attention. And that type of decision is mostly done right now by administrators and teachers. And to say they miss a few students because they just don't want to deal with them is an understatement. And you know, whether you like it or not, there's a lot of predictive analytics that AI does really well. You can determine how likely the person is going to be incarcerated through this AI. And that's really scary stuff because then you're making value decisions and you're taking in the biases of the AI, but it's still something that AI can do. And another key point that I want to push with this is everything here is controversial and it should be controversial. These are good problems to have. The 1111 philosophers that I work with want to get into good trouble. By doing any of this in a school, you are going to run into problems. We need to run into those problems because we need to solve these problems. The third kind of thing I think AI can do is simulate one-on-one human tutors. People might have gotten an AI poem from somebody, or like I did a funny thing where I was talking to Dick Cheney and met Benjamin Netanyahu, and I had like a back and forth between them about Snickers bars. You can do things like that, but the cooler thing that you can do for students is you can speak the language of the student. And I don't know if you've ever been to a high school, but there is a different language being spoken in a high school that it takes me a minute to even understand as English. And every high school is different, you know, whether it's Newman or like we're going to Grace King or whatever. Grace King is not there anymore, but every high school has a different language, and AI tutors can speak that language. The most important thing I think AI can do, and this is what I keep drilling hard and hard and hard, especially because I get invited to things like this all of a sudden because I'm Mr. AI, is it can help people engage in future technology. So AI is estimated by some of like, and I didn't put a QR code here because I don't think there's actually like good number on this, but AI is estimated by whoever estimates these kind of things at around 1.8 trillion and it's going to dominate a market sector. I think it's going to, if you think of the internet, that's what AI is. You know, it's a giant thing. And the earlier and the sooner we can start engaging students in it, the more folks are going to be able to deal with the workforce. And so one of the key things that I see, so I was, one of the guys on our team is this guy, Johnny James, who's an amazing individual who runs a huge part of an organization called Operation Spark in town that works with disadvantaged people, and they graduate, I think, women 15 times more than they graduate 15 times more women than any schools around. They're an amazing organization, Operation Spark. I highly suggest you look it up. But Johnny James was telling me that he spoke to a few administrators at Tulane, and they said, we're looking at AI not even like a specialized tool like Microsoft Word or Excel. We're looking at it like the internet. It's beyond just like a Google or something. And if we're graduating students who don't have a proficiency in working with AI and dealing with AI, we're doing a disservice for our students. And so that is the biggest thing, I think, is just getting people engaged in this conversation that we can do by giving AI to every student. And again, this is a quote from I think Johnny James or Birdsong, that like AI is the new internet. I can't underline this enough. I work with the internet. I've worked with the internet for many years, and I've talked to some of the biggest CEOs and smartest people I know. They would agree with this. It will penetrate everything we do. If you want to ask specifics, I can give you specifics, but like just know AI is the new internet. It's at the very least a sidekick that will be with the vast majority of people doing work. So as we kind of wrap up here, I wanted to give you a quick demo. The Philosophers Group is partnering with an organization called Khan Academy. Khan Academy is a good New Orleans or Louisiana founded organization. The founder, Sal Khan, went to Grace King, started it because he needed to tutor his, I think it was, Sam would know this better than me, but his niece after Hurricane Katrina in math. And he took his videos and spun them up into a beautiful learning system. And so let me just give you a quick demo of what we're kind of really shepherding and focusing on. And again, I don't work for Khan Academy. Like we're literally just giving them money. Like it's not, this is opposite of me selling them. And they're using a lot of different AI tools as well. So this is a AI bot that's here, that's developed by Khan Academy. I don't know if you can all see it, but it's here to help focus a student on studies by helping them remove distractions in the environment around them. This is a huge problem for students, especially are coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. And so, you know, I could say something to you that's not me. And and now they kind of reiterate their understanding. And you know, I could keep bantering, but I'll just kind of take them at words and say, like, how am I distracted? Totally distracted. I'll do a 5. This is all just being generated on the fly based off of what I said. And it would be smarter if I was a student because it would have a lot of data on me. And now it says 5, huh? Yeah, that's okay. Most of us struggle to pay attention. And you see, it changed the language because I was just like, what you're saying is not hitting me. Like, here we go. I've brought tools like this into classrooms of students that you would say there's no way these students would get interested in it. By the end of it, I had my credit card out buying them subscriptions to these services because they found the use in it just by engaging with it. And all I had to do was prompt them to engage in it and show them how to do it. So it's saying now like 5, huh? That's okay. I'm not going to bore you with all of this, but you can do all sorts of stuff like ask me in the voice of Thomas Jefferson. And it's also trained to say no sometimes. Oh, there it goes. So let's pretend like we're back in the 1700s. My dear friend, might you be inclined to embark on a journey of learning a strategy known as start strong? It's quite a tool for focusing on one's mind. What say you? So like you could do all sorts of weird stuff with this. And I find the more students start to play with it, the more they get curious. And then they say like, can you help me build a business? I've seen a lot. Can you help me make a lot of money? I see a lot, especially disadvantaged schools. And it becomes a tutor. It becomes an amazing tutor. And this is why I think Walter Isaacson asked, can we bring AI to every student? I'm happy you can sign up. It's like $4. It's super cheap to do it. You can sign up, send your grandkids or kids or do it yourself. You can learn a lot of stuff. So this is what the 1111 philosophers are doing. We're fundraising. So it costs $33. Well, they say it's $44, but I'm gonna nickel and dime them down at 33 because I like 33 better than 44, and that's what money is, right? Just deciding what number you want to pay. So what we're fundraising for is $33 per student per year, and then $250 per 30 students for a one-on-one human training of how to use this, which I think is really key. And I'm lucky enough to be connected to a lot of great AI experts at Google and all sorts of cool companies that would love to do this. And this $250 is more just to pay kind of the administrative around that. We're also integrating it. Justin here, who some of you might have met tonight, is one of the most amazing technologists who literally his entire job is integrating really hard things. He does government payment integration systems. These are very hard things. He's here helping us work on this. So we're hopefully going to integrate a one-click, I'm in, here I am. And whenever new tools come out, so Khan Academy is here, great. I hope they're forever because they're local boys. But if another tool comes around tomorrow, like what usually happens in tech, that instead of having to deal with a whole big bureaucracy, that we can quickly, almost immediately, flip over into that new tool, and students can get engaged with it. I worked on a study a while ago of talking about how students react to homework assignments and looking at the different ways students are assigned homework assignments. The best way to assign a homework assignment was at the time through Snapchat, which was an app that students were using. And so if we really want to engage with students technologically, we can't wait around for schools to go through the bureaucratic motions. We need to do that rapidly. So one of the things we're doing is integrations. And then the third thing we're doing is training. So connecting AI experts to join classes. We had a guy from Google who was literally like one of the key guys focusing on existential risk for Google. Like that's a huge thing. He was in New Orleans. By the way, we had the world's biggest AI conference in New Orleans. Nobody knew about it, but he was in New Orleans, and I couldn't get him in a high school to talk to. I really tried, and he was open, and Google was excited. It was very hard.
Look at my son.
Job that we need to do. We need to figure out ways to for AI experts to join classes. And then we're going to create an educator community portal. And this could just be a basic community system for different educators to speak amongst themselves. What I find in coming from my mother being a teacher, and I grew up in a family of teachers, is educators really like to gossip about their worlds. And it's great that they do because they're letting off steam. And we want to create a community portal that people can talk freely and openly and figure out the best ways to make their students' lives a success. And so again, I mentioned quickly mentioned the people who are involved. Johnny James, who's not here tonight, he runs operations at Operation Spark, the great organization I was telling you about that that basically helps students that are going an untraditional path into coding to become a great coder. They have about a 90% job placement. So if you go through the Operation Spark program from start to finish, they have about a 90% job placement program. Johnny James is a big reason of that, and we're really blessed to have him. Justin, I was mentioning, works with a lot of different government groups to integrate payment systems. I think Jefferson Parish is one, but it's a really, really hard task that makes dealing with schools super simple. He's pushed 1.5 billion through his payment systems. He's part of what we're working on. Again, I'm the CEO of Equalify. We've done about 2 million accessibility fixes. I'm aiming to do about 100 million by 2028. And Sam Birdsong here, he's a community leader. I met Sam in a coffee shop, and like I think this picture was on the wall. And the reason I'm standing in front of you today is because of Sam. Because Walter Isaacson said this crazy thing near Saul Khan. I reached out to Saul Khan, and then I just floated it in the 1111 group who would be interested in running this project. And Sam stepped up. You know, it's not like who would be interested in getting paid or doing this. Sam stepped up. And that I was telling Sam like is one of the biggest things to me if you are motivated to work. And so Sam Birdsong is one of our is our leading member here. And I'm hoping that other people can get involved. This is the first time I'm ever kind of introducing this project. I live down Exhibition Boulevard on Patton Street. I walk by here all the time. I love the round table. I love seeing. I've been here a few times. I think that a culture for higher level discussion and discourse is necessary in a city that wants to really engage with the most important topics of our time. And I love what you're doing here. And when I was asked to be here, I knew that I needed to launch something big here. So that's what I'm doing tonight. And so we have a donation thing. You don't need to take out your cameras if you don't want to, but like you can just find me or find Justin. We're going to do this whether we get money or not, but donations help us create a network. And then we are also signing up different educators right now. We have a process where our first rollout is going to be this summer to about 100, 150 students. And then by November 11th, which is our big festival we call the Philosophers Fest. We're doing it at the Jazz Museum, the Historic Jazz Museum on Esplanade this year. By November 11th, we are going to formally announce, hopefully with Saul Khan on the stage, and I just heard from Walter Isaacson, and he's going to be in New York, but I'm going to force him down here for November 11th to launch this formally and to say, this is what we're doing. Every student should have access to AI, and this is how we're doing it. Look, we are already doing it this way. We're going to do that on November 11th. And when I set my mind to something, it's going to be done. And I'm standing here today to be held accountable. On November 11th, you could show up at Jazz Museum, and we should be, hopefully with Saul Khan, and even more hopefully with Walter Isaacson on stage, saying we're getting this done. New Orleans is going to be the first public school district, or the first school system in the world to have AI for every student. And I just want to thank you all tonight for letting me speak my mind to you, and I'll open up to any conversation or questions.